So, in a year in which we saw the landscape of Hollywood get turned upside down by so many films getting delayed, I was thinking pretty early on in 2020 that, man, this might not be a good year for movies, but boy, was I proven wrong because I think this was a great year for movies, whether it be independent films, big blockbuster movies, movies directed by Spike Lee or Christopher Nolan, getting great performances by Chadwick Boseman, Viola Davis, Carey Mulligan, to even getting reminded by a Pixar film to appreciate the small things in life. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be sharing with you all my top 10 movies of 2020. Let's get into this list. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new top 10s list, and today's list is a big one. This is my top 10 movies of 2020. I'm so excited to let you all know what films made that list, but before we dive into it, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you all are following me on all my other social media accounts like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which you can find all those links in the description below. If you are new to this channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. It would mean a lot to me if you all can like and share this video. It really helps out the channel, but I also appreciate all the support. And in the comments below, now this is my top 10 movies of 2020, but I want to know your top 10. Let's discuss your films on your list in the comments below. So before I get into my top 10 list, I do have some honorable mentions, and I will say I enjoyed these films. Some of these films were actually on my list for a good part of last year before I saw some films later on in the year. So good films, recommend you all check them out. I reviewed these movies on the channel, so check that out as well. But with that being said, starting off with my honorable mentions, I have Apple TV Plus animated film Wolf Walkers. I have the new David Fincher Netflix film Mank. Now this isn't a film necessarily, this is an anthology series on Amazon Prime, and they have 4 movies directed by the great Steve McQueen. I'm talking about Small Axe, highly recommend that. Switching gears into a horror film, Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor. We have another movie that was a horror film that I really enjoyed, and a great performance by Elizabeth Moss with The Invisible Man. And last but not least, we have the Ben Affleck Way Back. Now again, all great films in their own right, really enjoyed them, but they just weren't able to make my top 10 list. Which, speaking of that list, let's just jump right into it, starting off with number 10. And this was a film that I was looking forward to. I wasn't really expecting to be blown away by it, but man, this film absolutely floored me. I'm talking about the Riz Ahmed-led film on Amazon Prime, The Sound of Metal. Now, basic synopsis, you have this gentleman, Ruben, who is in a rock metal band with his girlfriend, played by Olivia Cooke, who was great in this film. They're always on the road. They're playing loud, extreme music. He's really not necessarily appreciating all the small things that he has in his life. He's a recovering addict, and as the film goes on, he's slowly starting to lose his hearing. So this guy that's always on the move, love loud music, love loud noises, he's starting to be kind of content with the idea of being locked into silence. And in that being locked into silence, it completely turns his life around. So he has to check himself into a rehab center so he doesn't fall back into his addict ways. And in this rehab facility, it also serves as a deaf community. Seeing the deaf community, seeing his relationships with the people there, as well as the guy that ran the community, his relationship with Olivia Cooke, the performance by Riz Ahmed. I really hope he gets some nominations come Oscar season because I thought he was fantastic. This film is really well put together. It's emotional. It is a really great performance by Riz Ahmed and the entire cast. I can't recommend it enough. It's on Amazon Prime, and coming in at number 10 is The Sound of Metal. Now, moving to my number 9, this is probably my favorite comedy of 2020, and it is a film that premiered on Hulu earlier this last year, to say, and that is Palm Springs. This film was so great. Another film that I really wasn't expecting that much from. I like Andy Samberg, but I don't think he's the funniest guy, if I'm being honest with you. But man, this was such a great performance by him. I thought he was funny. I thought his whole, again, if you all aren't familiar with Palm Springs, without spoiling anything, it's essentially a rom-com with a gentleman who's locked in a time loop, and you have Kristen Miliani, who we'll get to here in a bit. She goes to this wedding, and she kind of gets trapped in this time loop. So it's a Groundhog's Day kind of mixed in with the romance, but it's great. It has so many depths. It has so many great layers. Again, Andy Samberg's hilarious. He's great in this film, as well as you get a surprise appearance by J.K. Simmons. I loved his character, but the scene stealer, the MVP for me, was Kristen Miliani. I loved her in this film. She was great. She was emotional in regards to just kind of being not wanting to be trapped in this time loop and trying to figure things out and just having a good message. It's a really funny movie. It has some good dramatic moments. I was blown away by this film, and it is just such a great film. It's on Hulu, and that's why it's coming in at number 9, and that is Palm Springs, my favorite comedy of 2020. Switching gears into my favorite horror of last year. Now, this film can be found on Netflix. I'm talking about the one and only His House. Now, this film was written and directed by first-time director Remy Weeks, who did an incredible job directing this film, creating great tension. It was an incredible script. And then you have these incredible performances by Wunmi Mushaku and Shape Dirisu, who they're coming from South Sudan. They're migrating over to the UK. They get thrown into this terrible house, and this house happens to be somewhat haunted, but it's not necessarily the house that's haunting them. It's actually what they were running from South Sudan. I don't want to get into the spoilers of this film. I highly recommend you all check it out. It's on Netflix. It's dark. It's twisted. It deals with past trauma. It deals with, you can't run away from your past trauma. If you want to move forward, you can't move forward if you still have demons that you haven't addressed in the past. The performances are great. It is a scary haunted house film. It's well written. It's well directed, and I recommend you all give it a shot, and that is why it comes in at my number 8 on Netflix, His House. Now, switching gears to my number 7 film. This is a big blockbuster directed by Christopher Nolan. I'm talking about the one and only Tenet. Now, this film is unique because this is the only film that I saw in 2020 that, besides before the COVID hit and the pandemic hit, this was the only other film that I saw outside of my house. I saw it at a drive-in, which was actually a pretty good experience. You can see my review for Tenet, but I had subtitles. I was able to hear the audio pretty good, but nonetheless, in regards to the film, this was Christopher Nolan. Besides, I think Interstellar and Dunkirk, this was probably one of his most ambitious films. The filmmaking concept in this film, the concept of the film itself within the version was so well put together. I thought we got really solid performances by our leads, John David Washington as the protagonist, as well as his buddy, the little bromance that we get in the film with Neil's character played by Robert Pattinson. I thought Elizabeth Debicki was good in the film. I thought Kenneth Branagh was a great villain. It is my favorite score of 2020, Letwood score, 747 track. There's so many great tracks on that soundtrack. I listen to it very often. I love the score for Tenet. It's big, it's ambitious. I don't have the complaint of it being too confusing. I've seen the film quite a few times now, but even on the first watch, I was able to grasp the idea of what Christopher Nolan was going for. Yes, it can be confusing for some, but I think just from a filmmaking standpoint, it was one of the most ambitious films that I saw in 2020, and that's why it's coming in at my number 7. Moving on to my number 6. Now, this is another Netflix film that was based on a play that has 2 of the best performances of 2020, played by Viola Davis and the great Chadwick Boseman. I'm talking about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Now, this film, again, based on a play, I didn't feel like I was watching a play. I feel like I was watching a well put together film. I thought the pacing was great, the conversations that was had in the film, the idea of the importance of blues. We see this kind of understanding of the mother of blues played incredibly by Viola Davis, who again, I see some nominations coming for her for best performance from a female lead. I see Chadwick Boseman getting a nod because I think this is one of, if not his best performance of his career. Again, rest in peace to the great Chadwick Boseman. He was fantastic in the movie. His monologues were incredible. The direction was sharp and witty. The dialogue was very impactful. It resonates in today's society. I thought it was an incredible film. Again, I did not feel like I was watching a movie based on a play. I feel like I was watching a movie based on some great dialogue performed by some great actors. And again, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is available on Netflix, and that comes in at my number 6. Before I get into my top 5 here, if you all haven't already, make sure to like this video, share this video, leave your comments below of your top 10 list of 2020. And as always, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you can get the alert when I drop new content. So with that being said, we are now in the top 5. Now, this film here is another film on Amazon Prime. We have a first-time director. We have a movie that I absolutely love, and this is another film based on a play. I'm talking about Amazon Prime's One Night in Miami. Regina King making her directorial debut. Fantastic. The script by Kemp Powers, who actually wrote the screenplay that this is based on in regards to the play. Also, Kemp Powers had a really good year with Soul as well, which may or may not be on this list, but I thought the performances across the board was incredible. Seeing Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, as well as Jim Brown having conversations about what was going on in the civil rights movement, all of them right on the cusp of having like these big impactful things that took place in their real lives. I thought that it was an incredible film. I thought Regina King, again, can't speak highly enough on her direction in this film. The script was fantastic. I thought that Kingsley as Malcolm X was, next to Denzel Washington as Malcolm X, gave one of the best performances I've seen portraying this, incredibly well-known real-life character in Malcolm X. I thought his performance was great. I thought, Sam Cooke's performance and Odom's voice and, Eli Gorey as Muhammad Ali, his mannerisms playing Muhammad Ali was so great. Again, this is available come the 15th of this month on Amazon Prime. I highly recommend you all give it a watch. One Night in Miami is a fantastic film, and that's why it's coming in at number 5 on my list. Moving over to a film that had a lot of people talking about the ending. It did premiere. I believe it's only available in theaters right now and not available to stream quite yet, but hopefully sooner rather than later it'll be available to check out, because I think everyone wants to see this film. I'm talking about Promising Young Woman. This movie was incredible. You have a first-time director in Emerald Fennell who wrote the script as well, and I thought the script was incredible. I thought the differences in tone from the 3 different acts were just so well put together. I thought it was a great dark comedy drama. I thought the performance by Carey Mulligan is definitely in that top tier class. Viola Davis, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, and now Carey Mulligan in this film definitely gave a performance of a lifetime. She was great as our main character. It left you wondering what she's doing to these men. It left you thinking about that ending, which I'm starting to, if you can see my review on the film, I'm starting to really appreciate the ending. I still have my flaws with the ending, but it is a bold ending to say the least. Again, I believe this is only playing at theaters right now, but as soon as this is available to stream, I highly recommend you all give a watch to Promising Young Woman, coming in at number 4. Now we are approaching number 3, which this is one of my favorite directors of all time. This film premiered on Netflix earlier last year. I'm talking about Five Bloods. Spike Lee at his best. Last decade or so, some hit or miss from Spike Lee, but this was definitely a hit. This is vintage Spike Lee. This is in your face. This is unapologetically telling you how he felt about Vietnam, telling you the story of these men that fought for a country that didn't care about them, showing you Delroy Lindo's performance, Chadwick Boseman again giving another great performance, and this cast in general played incredibly by Jonathan Majors, his relationship with his father. You got Clark Peters, Norm Lewis, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. It's a great film. It came out in a perfect time with the BLM movement going on and protesting, and the conversations again within this film. Delroy Lindo, one of our main characters, he will definitely get a nomination. He's always been a great actor in my eyes, but this is definitely a stamp of approval of one of his best performances of his entire incredible career. The Five Bloods was incredible. This is definitely top tier Spike Lee for me, and that's why Netflix is The Five Bloods coming in at number 3 on my list. Moving on to number 2, this was a film that I think is going to be the front runner for Best Picture. This was a film by one of the best writers, if not the best writer working in Hollywood. I'm talking about Aaron Sorkin's Netflix film, The Trial of the Chicago 7. Courtroom drama. I'm not even really a big courtroom drama fan, but it kept me so invested in the story. Another film that came out in the perfect time. I thought all the performances, Sacha Baron Cohen, we have Jeremy Strong, you have Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Bobby Seale, you have even Calvin Harrison Jr. making an appearance. I mean, the cast is incredible. The film goes at such a great pace. It's intense. It's a little bit of comedy at times with Sacha Baron Cohen's character. Eddie Redmayne has a good performance in this film. Again, I think this is front runner for Best Picture. I think this is going to win Best Script. I don't think we'll get a nomination for Aaron Sorkin. I still think he's a much better writer than he is a director, but he's definitely improving as a director. Hands down, incredible film. It's my favorite film from Netflix this year. And like I said, I think this is a front runner for Best Picture of 2020 come Oscar season later this year. Now, that is my number 2, which means we have one movie left. Now, I'm going to kind of talk about this movie for a little bit, even though I reviewed it on my channel, and I highly recommend you all check it out. This film hit me more so on the second and third time. I appreciated it. I loved it when I saw it the first time, but it was the second time and third time that I just really saw all the nuances in the voice acting, from the message of the film, from just the impact of seeing the first black lead character in a Pixar film. As you all can probably tell, I'm talking about my number 1 film is on Disney Plus. That is Soul, directed by Pete Docters, and Kemp Powers coming in yet again. Speaking of Pete Docters, I love what they are doing right now with Pixar. They are bringing in these directors that have made great films like Pete Docter has done in the past, whether it be Up, whether it be Monsters, Inc., and so on and so forth. They bring you that familiar sense of bringing in Pete Docters, but then they give you a Kemp Powers who brings that authenticity of showing a black man in a Pixar film. And one of the best scenes of 2020 for me was seeing our main character, Joe, get his haircut and the conversations and showing you that sanctuary that is the barbershop. That scene is impactful. The message in the film, seeing Joe at the beginning of the movie not want to be a mentor, not want to be a teacher, coming into the end of the movie, being a mentor, being a teacher for our character played by Tina Fey, 22. The film has so many great messages. One of the biggest things that hit home for me is just, especially in this year of 2020, appreciating the small things that we have in life, whether it's eating, walking, talking, making a YouTube video. There's so many things that we should be thankful and be, happy that we're able to do on a day-to-day basis. And this film really kind of resonated with me in that sense. Again, having this new direction of authenticity with the Pixar films, having these different cultures, having different people being represented, whether it be this film, Coco, we got Luca coming out later this year. I'm loving this new, this direction that they're going into. I love me some original Pixar. Don't get me wrong. I like the Toy Story 4s of the world, Incredible 2s, and the, Finding Dory's, but it's the originality that Pixar that makes me just so invested into their filmography. It's the idea that they have such a great balance of speaking to adults about not being content in life and just taking jobs. And if you're not happy, find your happiness, right? You can't move forward in life if you're not, happy with what you have going on in your day-to-day basis. It speaks to adults. It's kid-friendly. It's incredible animation. It has one of the best scores this year by Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross. It has incredible jazz by Jon Batiste. This film is a masterpiece. It is slowly becoming one of my favorite Pixar films of all time. Toy Story is still up there. The Incredibles is still up there. Coco's still up there. But this is definitely top 5 Pixar for me. And as I continue to watch this film, as the time goes by, I won't be surprised if it cracks my top 3. So there you have it. That's my number 1 film, Disney Plus. So I really wish I would have been able to see it at the theater, but I'm glad I was able to see it regardless, because I thought it was such a great message to end off 2020, which spinning the ending off 2020, there you have it. That's my top 10 movies of 2020. Very solid year with all the delays and everything. I still think we got some great movies to talk about, and I can't wait to see what films get nominated, what actors get nominated, with directors, with actresses. I'm so excited for the Oscars. So I think we got a really great year of cinema in 2020. And speaking of ending this year, my next video for you all, expect this to be coming pretty soon, which is my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2021. As far as other top 10 lists on the channel now, you can also check out my top 10 Netflix series that I did on this channel, my top 10 Netflix shows, also my top 10 shows in general that came out last year. So check out those videos. As always, make sure to like, share, leave your top 10 movies of 2020 in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my other content. Thank you all for watching this video. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you on the next video.